Hello, Anthony Bedone for Complete SQL. This is episode 6 of Complete SQL Demo Series. The topic today is sources and results. Basically, I want to talk about what kind of sources are we accessing, inputting into our system, and what kind of result sets are we producing to then view the insights that we're gathering. When you have a problem, it's best to narrow down your solutions to a small amount of solutions to multiple problems. How often have you seen that every time there's a problem, a new solution comes up, another problem, a new solution comes up, and after a while, you just have a huge amount of solutions to multiple problems. And if you look further into it, the problems aren't that diverse. They come down into categories. So that's what we're trying to do. And I've after monitoring many servers for a long time, I realized there's really just two things that I'm looking at, and it comes down to two processes. And as far as input, there's tabular input, and then after that, there's non-tabular input. A tabular input is something that I'm accessing like a file, like a view, select everything from, whether it's multiple join, multiple columns, but it's always select something and it comes back with a tabular result set. And then the other hand, there are non-tabular result sets where I'm not selecting, I'm not reading against a file or a catalog or a view. I'm making a request to an object. I'm making a request to a PowerShell commandlet, to an application. And the result set comes back as objects. And then it's up to me then to then transfer that to a tabular result set and then store it, serialize and store it. So up here, I'm running scripts, say DMVs. They come back as tabular result sets. I then store them as serialized events. And anything other than that is a non-tabular result set. We take back the objects, we investigate what we need to do, store it as a tabular result set, serialize it as an event. And then there's a hybrid. It's really a combination of these two, tabular and non-tabular. And one great example are extended events. Uh, we're reading, say, the buffering files, or even just the memory area, excuse me, and comes back as tabular. Then I have to extract that XML tabular column into objects and then push it down into a tabular, my tabular, and then serialize it again. So all I'm doing is reading tabular and non-tabular. So any kind of problem that I have that I'm investigating falls under two categories and then a hybrid of the two categories. And that's it. So you have essentially one solution. These are basically combined together in an application. So there's really one solution, but broken down into two divisions to handle tabular and non-tabular. When they do come back as events, there are essentially two kind of events that we're interested in. Event number one is a discrete event, meaning it comes back with a very discrete type of value that I can pretty much act on that value immediately. For instance, deadlocks. It comes back as a deadlock. It's a deadlock, and I can do something about that. I can investigate it quickly. I can maybe send out a report. There are deadlocks happening, but it's discrete information. The other category of events are data points. I'm gathering, collecting information, say from requests or connections or memory grants. And after a while, I'll have to batch that information, maybe in a minute, maybe in an hour, maybe in 10 minutes, and then come up with a conclusion about that. So there are data points that I'm accumulating, and I can't grab value yet until I have more of a historical view of those. But it could be a short historical view every minute, every 10 minutes, or it could be a day, it could be an hour. So those are two kind of events, and eventually we just store them, serialize them as bin files, sitting in here to be utilized any way we choose, where we're going to start acting on reporting, whether we're going to push them into the cloud, whatever we're going to do. So again, there's just two sources of tabular, non-tabular, two events, discrete, and data points, non-discrete, and that's it. And then I'll show you an example of that in 2 seconds. Thank you for listening. Hello, this is the demo portion of the series. We're going to run two scripts, one to collect information from tabular sources and one to collect from non-tabular sources. So if we go here in DBA reports, you see there's nothing below this directory. And in 2 seconds, there'll be a lot of things below that. So let's execute it. So I'll go into users, my name, and first I'm going to run objects. So I'll kick that guy off, and he should be running 2 seconds. I'll just minimize him. And then I'm going to run, then I'm going to run, let's see here, just lost it. Scripts, okay. And kick that one off. And it should be kicking off a number of tabular sources coming in. And there it is. Okay, so if you look at the reports, as I mentioned before, there's objects and run scripts. And as far as the objects, we have under the heading of demo 01, we have perf1 counters. And if I get into it further, there's information being collected on perf1 counters, and that's an object source. Okay. Look at here, we have SQL error logs, reading the error logs in SQL Server, and we should have some information in there too, and we do. And that's also a non-tabular source coming back. If I just minimize that again, and I go into scripts, demo 01 again, and these are all tabular: connections, index usage, memory grants, query store, request, and extended events for error reported. I think I have some information in there too. And let's just see. Yes, we do. Okay, so I'm grabbing back information for tabular and non-tabular results, or actually tabular and non-tabular sources that come back with result sets of objects or tabular, ultimately serialized down to bin files. Now, all that information can be easily collected under DBA reports, under whether it's objects or run scripts, and under the heading that you put in, demo 01 for run scripts, and demo 01 also for the objects. If we can then, it's being stored as serialized bins. Let's just look at one just to prove that we are collecting information. So if I go into this display here, open him up, and we'll look at the non-tabular inputs. So I'll go to the source, which is a serialized bin at this point. Then we'll go to reports. We'll go to the objects demo. Let's look at error reports. Click through that, pick him up, and no. And now this is just a display of the serialized bin file. And as you can see, we do have information. There were 3 failures in there that I just put in before I ran the job. And so it came back as an object. We then stripped out the information, stored it in a tabular, serialized it, and there it's stored. And then we have that as a DTO, a data transfer object, to be utilized for further processing, however we chose to do. So we have one solution broken down into 2 divisions. Anything that's thrown at us, we can then process those guys as tabular sources, non-tabular sources, ultimately put them down as tabular serialized data events stored as bin files. And that's pretty much it. Thank you. Bye-bye.